It is the Week 10 Sunday night edition of the PFF Forecast. We're going to do a little Kyler Murray, maybe a couple of takeaways, and we're going to jump into week number 11. Let's rock. Before we get to Kyler Murray, actually, the Ravens, now 6-3. Same record as the Browns, the Dolphins.
All the teams in the NFC West, by the way, except for the Niners.
Of those teams, do you think the Ravens are certainly the best?
No. My issue currently, right now, no. I mean, I think the Ravens would be lined favorites against them on a neutral field, but there are a number of things I think that have to be resolved about the Ravens. I think that they'll figure it out. They're a smart team. They always sort of do. But last season, we got a lot of flack for saying that Russell Wilson was the most valuable player in the NFL. And, one of the reasons we said Lamar Jackson fell short of that mark was that his offensive line was the most valuable in football. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens? They lose Marshall Yanda. They lose Ronnie Stanley. It's no longer as formidable. Their defense is fine, but defense regresses and things like that, right? And so when you look at, I don't think Cleveland's better than Baltimore. No way. I mean, yeah. Baker stinks. I mean,
let me read you the 6-3 teams.
But Miami playing really good defense.
Okay, you got Miami. You've got we'll start out west: Arizona, Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks. Then you've got the NFC East. If you combine the Eagles and the Giants wins, no, I'm just kidding. The Las Vegas Raiders 6-3. Titans and Colts both 6-3, Browns and Ravens both 6-3, and then the Dolphins are 6-3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing about it is teams are never their derivative, right? They're never what just happened. So the Ravens are still Ravens are part the best team in football, which is where they started the season, and part a team that is extremely flawed, which we saw tonight. What two parts of those? I don't know. Are the Dolphins as good as the team that has reeled off 4 or 5 wins in a row? Are they that good?
I mean, they've gotten some nice variance on the defensive side of the ball.
By the end of the season, they'll probably be some combination of.
Well, they'll probably be in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they'll probably be some combination of an average team and the current team they are, which is very, very good. The Ravens will be some combination of the team that they were at the beginning of the year and the team they are now, right?
Okay, sure. The Ravens can't throw the freaking football. Of all those teams I listed, who has the worst passing offense?
I mean, you have to think about it.
Because I would say it's the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore, right. I mean, but
name a receiver on their team.
Yeah, but the Cleveland Browns are as bad as the Ravens are throwing the football.
Ooh, that's a good take. It's those two.
Yeah.
Those two teams trying to
the Las Vegas Raiders are a better passing team than the
by a mile.
Baltimore. Derek Carr was the highest graded quarterback this week, pending review.
Definitely.
But so
Colts, Titans, both better passing offenses.
Yeah, the Colts are again an interesting one, right? Are we coming to another situation where I think the Colts are a really good team from a basic strategy perspective, but not a good play. Their plays are not super great. The Ravens are kind of approaching that. They're not schematically brilliant anymore.
The Mark Ingram, when you need 1 yard and you have Lamar Jackson, you've got to take him off and put Mark Ingram in the shotgun. That was awful. I mean, that was absolutely terrible. That's that's I have Michael Jordan on my team. Let me go give Ron Harper the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's just ridiculous. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Their win total was what, 11.5?
Yeah. It was too many.
People did not like it when we said it was an underplay, but sure enough, I mean, their passing game has regressed dramatically. There were some things that they did last year that were unsustainable there.
Well, can we talk again about the fragility of football? When you depend upon, it's the Niners. It's the same thing as Niners too, right? When you depend upon a bunch of things to work in unison, the way that they did for the Ravens and the 49ers a season ago, you can't, that was, the Niners under is already cashed, right? You can't You can't do that, right? Defense is that way by design, so you can't really deal with that. That's why defense isn't what you build for. On offense, like when you build an offense that depends upon a ton of interconnected parts, you should expect regression from brilliance one year, right? Like it's just the way it is.
Yeah. I feel bad for Lamar because instead of a receiver, he got Patrick Queen and J.K. Dobbins in the first 2 rounds. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
They really are bereft of
it just, again, it goes
talent.
to show that you can't have enough players at that position. And people, were giving us a decent amount of flack for saying that and for, getting, and, to a certain degree, the same thing's true about Kansas City. It's just that their team doesn't, like both of those teams pick running back, linebacker, first 2 picks. And of course, the Kansas City's are dramatically impacting. Yeah, and actually, Kansas City's offense hasn't been as good this year. Like right. They're buoyed by the fact that they make one big bet and it hits most of the time. The Ravens make a lot of tiny bets that all need to hit for their offense to be as good as it was a season ago, and some of those have not hit. Starting with Marshall Yanda's retirement, but mostly the fact that when they won the Super Bowl in 2012, they had Anquan Boldin, right? The Niners had Anquan Boldin. They were really good in that type of offense too. With Greg Roman, when Lamar Jackson drops back to pass and needs 8 yards, who's he throwing it to?
Mark Andrews.
But Mark Andrews can't do much other than these layups that you get on play action.
That was my point. It's like if Mark Andrews is your go-to guy, may God be with you. Let's talk about another 6-3 team real quick because there were and rightfully so, people were excited about the Kyler Murray Hail Mary, or as you called it, the Hail Murray. It was an amazing play. I mean, the way he eludes. Ian brought this up. Ian Hartitz. It reminded him of the Rodgers play in Arizona. Interestingly, the way that Murray evades the rush is actually able to throw that pass in the field of play, and then the fact that DeAndre Hopkins just turns into God for 10 seconds and makes that catch. But then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, is Murray in the MVP conversation? This underscores something to me, which is that there really are not a lot of quarterbacks that have decided to try and challenge Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers almost got beat by Jacksonville. It was not inspiring. Yeah. Russell Wilson did get beat by Jared Goff in a very uninspiring fashion. Some interceptions that were not great. It was not a really good performance by him. And Kyler Murray throwing the football hasn't been anything special. But in a season where there's really not a lot, there are a lot of kind of poor performances that mar things, the fact that he is as electric with his legs after dropping back to pass is, I'll say this, Lamar is much better designed runner of the football, but from a scrambling perspective, I think it's Michael Vick is the only guy that was more electric with his feet after dropping back to pass.
And Michael Vick was never as efficient of a passer. But that being said, Murray, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 12 big-time throws, 9 turnover-worthy plays. Generally speaking, those are sort of where you want to look. His team hasn't dropped a pass in the last 2 weeks. Like, there's a lot of good support there. But today, you had this add-on to his statistics at the end. You only averaged 7.7 yards per attempt. I mean, it wasn't the most impressive performance I've ever seen from a quarterback. And, are we just anchoring on expectations? We're anchoring on, the fantasy community really liked Murray coming in. He kind of had, so you look at his first few games, 5.8 yards per attempt, 7.5 yards per attempt, 7.7 yards per attempt, and 4.3 yards per attempt the first bunch of weeks. He wasn't the most impressive thing we've ever seen in the world. He has come on and been better. But as you said, he's not approaching the play of, he's not approaching the high-end play of Russell Wilson. And he's not approaching the median play of Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, for that matter.
Yeah, I think it's indicative of how much Patrick Mahomes is going to run away with this award by the end of the season. That's what I think. And I think there's a chance that some team gets hot and some non-quarterback is going to get some love there. But
like who?
I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. But the point is, you can love Kyler Murray and think he's awesome, and the plays that he makes with his legs are insane, and also not believe that he's a most valuable player candidate,
Yeah.
right? Like those two things can coexist.
Can we also pause for a second and talk about the impact of DeAndre Hopkins? I've gotten a fair amount of flack on Twitter for saying, for example, tomorrow night's game, Minnesota versus Chicago, Justin Jefferson's the real reason why that offense has actually been good. Since they started playing him, things have opened up. You look around Baltimore, the classic example of the absence of this thing. But you look around the league and, what's powering great offenses? Well, of course it's quarterback, but besides quarterback, what is it? It's the wide receiver position.
Well, all you have to do is go to Houston.
Yeah, I mean,
Look at poor Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson,
who's playing better than he has ever played before, and yet they are losing games left and right. I mean,
no one can make plays. I mean, today even the absence of big plays from Seattle's wide receivers, specifically being shut down by Jalen Ramsey to a certain degree, was the reason why they couldn't move the football very well. It's 100% why. I mean, it's the second most valuable position in football, and people don't get that. But it certainly has opened up Arizona's offense. And you think about it, there isn't too many. You can't have too many. Christian Kirk. It's Christian Kirk one week. It's Andy Isabella another week. It's Larry Fitzgerald some weeks, and it's always you get the down payment that is DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it's difficult for an offense like that to fail.
That's a great point. It was interesting. Was it the Athletic podcast with Robert Mays, and they had the question of, would you rather start a franchise with Nick Bosa or DK Metcalf? And people were outraged that you would pick DK Metcalf. And I was like, are you watching football games?
Well, and you even look at Pittsburgh today. Like, we've been down a little bit on Pittsburgh. I think their schedule's been pretty easy, and it doesn't get any harder next week with Jacksonville. But you look at that offense. Claypool was a luxury pick, right? Deontay Johnson was amazing today. Juju Smith-Schuster is terrific. James Washington is he's like their fourth best receiver. How many teams would he crack the starting lineup on?
Right. No, that's a good point.
And they're 8-0, and they're 9-0 now, and there's really no surprise. Big Ben isn't amazing, but they're bullying him to some degree.
Yeah, receivers that can get open can do a lot for you.
And really help you.
Yeah, and they even turned Patrick Mahomes into an MVP.
You love hearing it. Well, but even the Chiefs, right? Like, they have 2019, their first draft pick was what? It was a wide receiver. Their defense is one of the worst units in the entire NFL. Probably the reason they don't win a Super Bowl in 2018. And their first draft pick was a luxury wide receiver out of Georgia. Like, it is what, No, they drafted a running back and linebacker the next year, but
thank God
they already had the ring, I guess.
Patrick Queen, Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate, getting dragged up and down the field. He went on a nut soup ride from Damian Harris and then got roasted by Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, that Jacoby Myers pass was a pretty fun play by Patriots.
Yeah. All right, let's get into Week 11 here. Got five really good games, and I think most of them stayed pretty good through this. We'll start with Thursday night, which is Arizona at Seattle. This is interesting because Arizona is probably going to get a little bit of love from the public, and Seattle is going to get a little bit of hate, and probably rightfully so. But this is in Seattle. I had Seattle as a 4.5 point favorite.
I had the exact same as you.
And it is 3.5.
Yeah. And I wrote down on a sheet that I think we should seriously consider Arizona. Which goes against my whole we should not overreact to things. But do you have any faith that this Seattle Seahawks team can separate from anybody?
I don't. But don't you feel that? So Seattle obviously lost to Arizona the last time they played in Arizona. Do you think that Russell Wilson has an issue making mistakes? Like, this is very. You talk about this all the time. Russell Wilson has these games every year, and people always overreact to them. But at the end of the season, you look back and you go, okay, there were a couple, but then he got it back on the tracks.
There's only one team in the history of the league that's gone 16-0, and there's a reason for that,
So part of me wants to totally fade that narrative. Seattle really needs to bounce back. I mean, really needs to bounce back here. They already lost to Arizona. They've lost to Los Angeles, the Rams. I don't know. It's tough.
But here's the thing. I mean, what was the
Total
who said this?
57.5.
Who said this last week? Mike Florio said that Tampa Bay can't afford to be swept by New Orleans, so I'm picking them. Like, I honestly don't care what Seattle can't afford to do, right? Like,
sure, but the can't afford thing, the feeling of success for Arizona winning on a Hail Mary when they probably should have lost that game. And, Seattle, I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I could see a letdown spot here for Arizona. Here's my thing, though. Which team has more playmakers?
Seattle.
Really? Mm-hmm. So when I look at this,
it's 3-2.
Yeah, but when I look at the other side of the football, I think there's actually playmakers on the other side of the football.
Who?
Like, I think Patrick Peterson's a playmaker. I think Budda Baker's a playmaker. I think.
So you're going to come at me with defense, right? Singular defensive players.
I'm not. I think on the offensive side of the ball, they have an equal number of playmakers. I think when you
count them,
you have Kirk, you have Hopkins.
I'm sorry, who?
Christian Kirk.
Stop.
You're
pulling rabbits out of your head right now.
But no, Tyler Lockett doesn't get to play against Christian Kirk, right? Like, he doesn't negate him. Like, there are players on the Arizona side of the ball that can make plays, and there are players on this other side, as we saw in the Sunday night game in Glendale. There are players on the other side of the ball for Arizona that can make plays.
I'm not saying that
can intercept passes, that can sack the quarterback.
I get that.
Seattle is completely barren, other than Jamal Adams, who did make a play.
Don't besmirch the good name of Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright.
I don't know. All right, well, so you're a no-go on this. I'm not laying 3.5 with Seattle. There's no way. 0% chance.
I think this might get to 3. And in that case, I would probably take Seattle.
Okay. I don't think so. I mean,
you know what this sounds like?
I'm not doing it. No, I'm not betting against Russell Wilson or you anymore.
Okay. Let it be known.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. Do you think that Seattle can separate from another NFL team that has a competent offense?
Competent offense, a Hail Mary is not exactly a repeatably competent offense. The Bills' defense is not good, and they had 23 points for the majority of the game despite Josh Allen not playing.
That game went over. We had a pick. We bet it last week, by the way. At this time last week, we had it. The game went over despite the fact that in the first half, both teams settled for 3 field goals. Neither team was stopped. They just moved the ball up and down the field. They had to settle for field goals a few times. The Arizona Cardinals are like, who has Seattle stopped for a half of a football game, a San Francisco offense whose quarterback was hurt? Other than that, they really have had zero success stopping an opposing offense. So, like, it's just like the Sunday night game. If you lay the points with Seattle, you're constantly going to be in this grind, even if they play a really good offensive game.
I mean, I didn't say it was one of my favorites.
Okay. All right.
I just said
let's move on.
But you're the one that didn't want to bet me. Just let it be known.
Yeah.
Let it be known. We'll see how this progresses throughout the week. Please stay tuned. Tennessee, Baltimore. Baltimore at home. Tennessee off a little bit of a longer rest, and God, they needed it because that was embarrassing. My God. Just find me one team that runs more on first and second down. It's a disgrace.
No lines up yet?
I have, I don't believe so. Let me see what it was before.
Okay, so the line that was up before the games were played this weekend, called the look-ahead line, was 6.5.
It was 7 before the game.
7 before the game. That was my guess. I would imagine that
your guess was 7?
Yeah.
Wow. I had 5.5.
I mean, Tennessee is now. It depends upon what your opinion of Baltimore is. I feel like Tennessee and Baltimore are both equally paper Tigers now. Whatever.
I like paper Cowboys better.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys suck, so sort of like.
I mean, this is a revenge game for Baltimore.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they lost in humiliating fashion. There are a couple things that
There's no way you're laying the points with Baltimore.
There's no way I'm laying the points with Baltimore. Do you think it stays at 7? I don't. Right? I mean, they just lost to New England.
I think people will like Tennessee. People will talk themselves into Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means I don't want any part of either side.
I'm already talking myself into Tennessee.
Yeah.
Baltimore can't throw the ball.
Yeah, Tennessee doesn't want to throw the ball.
I know, but at least they have the option to.
Yeah.
They could choose to. It's not like Baltimore can choose to put Antonio Brown on their team. Maybe they should have. Des Bryant. Why haven't we seen him?
Yeah, what happened to him? Did he not play today?
I didn't hear
look
his
at the
name called.
inactives or whatever. Let me go
All
on NFL Jesus here.
The team that beat the brakes off of the Tennessee Titans were the Indianapolis Colts, and they host the Green Bay Packers.
Dez was back on the practice squad for this game.
What was your take on the Packers?
The Packers do this all the time. They've done this for years. They played a very underwhelming game against a dog shit team.
Yeah, at home, bad weather.
The bad weather doesn't play to them because their defense literally does not care about stopping the run. They couldn't be bothered to stop the run if it would save
They had no Jair.
Yeah, they weren't
weird.
thrown on though. It was just kind of their offense was poop, and then they didn't run like they just
The offense is weird. At the beginning of the season, they had such a rhythm to them. They were throwing the ball quickly, and the ball was getting spread around, and it feels as though we're moving a little bit further away from that.
Rodgers did average almost 10 yards per pass attempt. It was just kind of in this like weird. You needed a deep ball to Marquez Valdez-Scantling to do it. You needed I don't know. Like this game isn't close without the Keelan Cole punt return though. There was some flukiness on the side of the Jaguars. Luton only completed half of his passes. Robinson was good, but it took him 23 carries. The Packers are 7-2. Their fans are going to say that that's exactly what they should be. But they're just another NFC team.
Yeah, part of it though, and this is hard, is because the Jaguars, it's an easy letdown spot.
They're also not a cold weather team. They're not. They're not a windy team.
But I don't want to part of me really doesn't want to overreact. If Rodgers weren't playing well, I would have no problem reacting to them barely beating Jacksonville. But he is still playing well. Well.
Here's the thing. I hate saying, look, this is going to be a game where the dust settles, and we're going to be talking to each other this time next week saying, why didn't we see the fact that the Packers are soft and the Colts aren't?
Wow.
I don't like necessarily trading the 13th overall pick and giving $20-something million a year to DeForest Buckner. But you look at that defense and Tennessee, right? Last week, Tennessee is a exotic smash mouth, right? Like
not anymore.
Well, but that's what they want to do. They want to hammer it up the middle with their 6'10", 300-pound running back, and most teams kind of fall over at that. The Colts, to their credit, Buckner, Houston, Leonard, Xavier Rhodes even. Like, they're a big physical football team. So then the question becomes, okay, if the Packers try to come at the Colts with this Marquez Valdez-Scantling bullshit and this Devontae Adams, like, let's shake Xavier Rhodes at the line thing, and
which will work,
but or this, hey, let's give Jamal Williams the majority of the touches on offense in the first half over Aaron Jones. Like, all this stuff. Like, the Packers, if they pitter-patter like this against the Colts, I kind of think the Colts are going to have them.
Okay. What did you think this line was going to be?
It's a good question. I haven't looked. I actually said, so the look ahead, so I said 2.5. I thought Green Bay would perform better today.
You thought Colts by 2.5.
No, I said Green Bay minus 2.5.
Okay. I had Green Bay minus 1.5.
Yeah, and
so
people are moving here on.
Wow. I guess it's not. I mean, it's not that huge, but I am surprised.
It's not through a key number at all.
I am surprised at that direction a little bit. Do you have any confidence in Phillip Rivers?
Well, the betting markets,
I don't.
The betting markets overvalue defense, in my opinion. So, like, people are going to go in and they're saying, look, they have the same logic I had. They just move too much on it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I mean, you saw what happened against Tampa. It's kind of the same deal, right? Like, a physical team comes in and beats the shit out of the Packers, and we realize same thing happened last year. The Niners were a physical, fast football team that had their way with them twice. The Chargers were kind of that way on defense last year, had their way with them. Like, it's sort of a tried and true method of beating the Packers, and I think that's what people are leaning on here.
Okay. I can't back Phillip Rivers and a defense that's good. I just can't.
But Phillip Rivers has played fairly well recently. I mean,
stop.
And when they have their weapons, they're not terrible.
Fairly well.
You don't think he played well on Thursday?
Not really.
Let me look.
Pushing the ball out there.
Well, yeah, it's not. He had the 9th best grade this week. I mean, it's not pretty. The aesthetics are not great. I understand that. It looks like me out there, although I have a better arm than Rivers does. But like, it doesn't look pretty. But he, averaged 8 yards a pass attempt. He only had one turnover-worthy play. He was accurate on 86% of his passes. Like, I mean, that gets it done.
Give me Aaron fucking Rodgers against Phillip Rivers' broke ass.
Okay. I mean, I don't like it. But.
Well, you won't bet me on it. All right, we move on to Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Kansas City off bye. This is on Sunday Night Football. I have the Vegas Raiders getting 10.5 at home.
I said 7.5.
Whoa.
It's 7.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you know who I like. You said 7?
I said 7.5.
Why?
Well, the look ahead was 7. I figured
why do you hate the Chiefs?
I figured the Vegas Raiders would play poorly against Denver Broncos, which they did for half the game, and then they poured it on our Denver Broncos this week. No, I mean, look, we have not given the Raiders the proper amount of respect. They deserve a fair deal of respect. Their defense stinks.
I thought I was giving them respect with this number not being 13.5.
Yeah, but the Raiders, I mean, look, you are probably getting a value with Kansas City. I agree with that. Road team off a bye.
It's 7. It's 7 juiced a little bit towards the Raiders.
Okay, do we want to take Kansas City then? -7?
I am intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Okay, let's take Kansas City -7. I feel like that's the right play. I also think road team coming off a bye has value. I also, as much as I think the Raiders have earned a label of at least an okay team, I think that there's some.
You said something interesting today, which I thought it was weird that this didn't manifest itself in the first game, but Kansas City's defense, despite being bad, is at least diverse.
Well, they're not bad either. Like they're not good.
Yeah,
I mean
they got torched by the Raiders the last time they played them.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to let bygones be bygones, and
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just think this number's too short.
All right.
What is there some sort of like home field that I don't know about happening in Vegas?
No.
Okay.
There's not really home field league wide.
Thank you. What does Patrick Mahomes like? It's his MVP award now, right? Like, there's just
people are still going to want
Rodgers. Rodgers still has a decent chance. Wilson's now fighting for a vote.
Wilson might get a vote.
Wilson is fighting for a vote.
I mean, what does Wilson have to do to get a? Because here's the thing, it's hard to see the Kansas City Chiefs or the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing worse than 13-3. Mm-hmm. So Wilson basically has to win out to finish 13-3. Like, if he wins out and doesn't throw another interception the rest of the year, he's probably the MVP, right? Like, right. But that's going to be hard for him to do.
I don't foresee that happening. Clyde Edwards-Helaire MVP or
no. Le'Veon Bell. MVP.
Yes. Rams
Yeah. So let's think about Chiefs here. I feel like that's a pretty.
Monday night next week is Rams-Bucs in Tampa Bay. I have the Bucs as a 4.5-point favorite.
Yeah, that's a little long.
Yeah.
I had Tampa 3.5, and that's what it is.
Juice towards the Rams.
Yeah. The look ahead was 3. So prior to the games this weekend, the line was 3. Tampa looked pretty good today against Carolina. They let Teddy hang around a little bit longer than you'd think, though.
So why did you make this 3.5? You just didn't have a lot of faith in Tampa Bay?
No, I thought that the Rams would lose to the Seahawks.
Okay.
So then Tampa would be favored by more than the look ahead, which was,
What does that have to do with? Okay, never mind.
So look, if the Rams had played, if people thought that the Rams win over the Seahawks was super impressive, this would probably be 3, wouldn't it?
I don't see any way that it's 3. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm confused by this. I think the Rams are still not very good.
I think that, look, famous last words, but I do think it's probably time to give a little bit of credit, and this is me because I'm the one that's the McVay sort of skeptic, a little bit more credit to McVay, but a lot of credit to the defensive side of the ball for the Rams. Leonard Floyd had 3 sacks today. Leonard Floyd was the first player other than Aaron Donald to lead the Rams in pressures all year.
I will fade that narrative.
Okay. Then, you want to lay it with Tampa?
3.5?
I do think
3?
I do think that this is actually a fairly the Bucs might have the offense to deal with the Rams. The only issue is they had to move Ryan Jensen out to guard today, and
yeah, I'm a little worried about the offensive line. But they had 4 receivers over 50 receiving yards.
Yeah,
so
the
you
Rams
can't just
have
put Jalen Ramsey on one person.
But who is that other corner? 31 for them today. Played amazing football. I'm trying to remember who, but the idea that the Rams are just a couple players on defense might be a little bit overblown, but the Bucs are more than just a player or 2 on offense.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by Tampa Bay there. Okay. The middle section of games. These are actually all pretty bad. The rest of these games all suck. Cincinnati, Washington. I put this in here just because of Joe Burrow, who did not look very good today. It was rough. Washington, I had as a 1.5-point underdog.
I had Cincy as 2.5-point favorite, so Washington is 2.5-point underdog. It is a pick 'em. Now Washington is favored by 1, and it's moving towards Washington, it looks like. I feel like we just take Cincinnati here.
Yeah. The football team, as gutsy as their comeback was against the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions will let anyone back into a game. And
the Detroit Lions are a slump buster, that's for sure.
And Cincinnati, the matchup was just bad for Pittsburgh. I'm getting back on the Joe Burrow band.
Here's the question, though, before we think about Cincinnati here. The front four for the football team is pretty good. And Cincinnati is dreadful on the offensive line.
Yeah, but they're nowhere near what what Pittsburgh or Baltimore have in terms of aggressive.
That's true. And the Detroit Lions did what they wanted to against them today.
Without Kenny Golladay.
Yeah. And T. Higgins is playing really well. Okay, let's think about Cincinnati.
All right, next game. Atlanta, New Orleans in New Orleans. Atlanta off a bye. I was going to be worried about Atlanta off a bye. Here's the question for you, because I'm assuming it's Jameis Winston. Could be Taysom Hill.
Line's not up currently for that reason.
If Jameis Winston has – so this is similar to the Teddy Bridgewater question last year, which is how many games could Jameis Winston play where the New Orleans Saints are still the favorite to win this division?
Yeah, let me look.
Or be the 1 seed.
So they're at home to Falcons. Seems like a winnable game with Jameis. At Broncos, seems like a winnable game with Jameis. At Falcons, seems like a winnable game with Jameis. And then at Eagles.
Winnable game with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, well, can you imagine the Eagles-Saints game just basically being Jalen Hurts and Taysom Hill trying to out Taysom Hill each other? By then the Eagles have benched Wentz because he's an atrocity.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Like in the last 3 weeks, there have been a number of assaults on basic things that we've taken as normal things, and I feel like Carson Wentz's assault in the quarterback position is top 5. Like,
and he had Rager back.
Things we hold dear.
Dallas Goedert back today.
Look, you're the biggest person on appearance here than I am, but if you're gonna wear a camouflage arm sleeve, you better not be bested on the field by Daniel Jones twice in the same month. I'm sorry.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So, if you're the Saints, do you just sit? I mean, that's why you get Jameis, right? Jameis is a good quarterback. That's why you had Bridgewater for 2 years, because Bridgewater's a good quarterback.
Yep.
Do you just sit him for 4? Because then they play the Chiefs at home the week before Christmas. Like that, you finish with Chiefs, Vikings, Panthers. Those are 3 decent teams that you actually have to probably try against.
Right.
These 4 teams, maybe not so much. So why don't you play Jameis for 4 weeks? I think you're favored in all 4 of those games.
I agree. I completely agree. And what I was going to say is I would not feel any rush to bring Drew Brees back, even if he's 90%. Because you've always been trying to fight the falls off a cliff Drew Brees situation, which happens every single year. So just play Jameis as much as you possibly can.
The tricky thing, though, is only the one bye. Green Bay has the same record as you and has the tiebreaker because they beat you on Sunday Night Football in week 2, I believe. So you can't afford to slip up that much. But think about it. If you go 4-0 in the next 4 games, do you even play Brees against the Chiefs? You just kind of lay down that game, right? Take your 3rd loss, and then bring Brees back to gear up for the playoffs.
Maybe you don't bring Brees back at all. Jameis just starts dealing.
I mean, look, Jameis looked spry today. I mean, he looked terrible at throwing the ball, but he looked skinny. He looked like he had lost some weight, and he's laying his burdens down, as the hymn would say.
There are 3 quarterbacks with a PFF passing grade below 60. They are. Drum roll, please.
Wentz,
Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, and Carson Wentz. It is a who's who of disaster.
Illegal in a lot of southern states now.
Carson Wentz is the only quarterback, just belaboring the point here, the only quarterback over 15 turnover-worthy plays. Over 16.
Yeah, we were talking.
He has 23.
So what is this line with Jameis as a quarterback? Because it was 7 on the look ahead, like before the games were played this week.
And
the Falcons didn't play, so it's really just about New Orleans.
So before the games were played this week, I had New Orleans as an 8.5 point favorite.
And I said 7.5.
Okay. I would say with Jameis that it's got to be 5.5.
I would say probably more like 4.5, don't you? So Falcons get a decent amount of respect in the betting markets, right?
Yeah.
Like they're.
But isn't there.
Falcons off a bye.
Don't you think Sean Payton gets a lot of respect for what he did with Teddy Bridgewater last year?
Yeah, but Atlanta gets a lot of respect on the betting markets, weirdly, right? Like
I understand
consistently.
It. Given how much money I have invested in them, I understand it. Yeah,
so I think 4.5, 5.5. It would probably be 4.5 would be the number that I wouldn't bet. If you gave me 7.5, I'd take the points of the Falcons. If you gave me 3.5, I'd probably take New Orleans, even with Jameis, just because I love pain.
Same. All right, New England, Houston. This is a good game. In Houston, I have the Houston Texans as a 1.5 point dog at home.
I had them as a 2.5 point favorite.
Ooh, interesting. What was your reasoning there?
The far superior quarterback at home.
Yeah, Cam Newton has played well over the past couple of weeks.
He has. And then, in fact, tonight I thought he played terrifically.
And
especially given everything.
Here's the other thing. I'm not sure if you know this, but Houston is an absolute dumpster fire.
But
they suck.
Yeah, that's true. They gave up 100 yards to 2 different running backs today on the ground. Although the Chubb play, by the way, can we talk? Thank you, Jesus, for the Chubb play. Chubb running out of bounds was
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the Houston Texans ended up with such a bad team around Deshaun Watson. It doesn't make sense to me. They're so bad.
On purpose?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
They
and then they fired their PR person who apparently everybody likes.
The one good person.
Yeah, they
Deshaun Watson is going to be alone by himself in NRG Stadium, surrounded by.
The one good decision I thought they were going to
commerce.
make was to keep Romeo Crennel for another year because, as we know, Good Luck Chuck, great movie. Dane Cook's pretty funny. Chiefs fired Todd Haley, let Romeo Crennel be the interim coach for 1.5 years. Then after that, they got Andy Reid, and now here they are. Maybe there's a Good Luck Chuckism there. Romeo Crennel is the penultimate person to sustain success.
I feel so bad for Deshaun Watson.
I feel bad for Romeo Crennel. He's out there. He couldn't even win his revenge game today.
Dude, he punted from 48 yards out.
It's brutal.
What a disaster.
Hey, at least they have a first round. There's just. Hey, by the way, can we talk about how much the Dolphins had the league by the balls, by the way?
You want to move on to that game? Do we have a line for this? What was it before?
I don't think it.
New England. It is somewhere here. Houston -2.5. Interesting.
It's got to be more like a pick 'em now, if not closer to in New England being 2.5.
Yeah.
Which I think means that you got to take Houston. These line moves that go like a full, much like the game tonight.
There is no way that I am taking Romeo Crennel against Bill Belichick. No way. There's zero chance.
He knows all the secrets, though.
There's just no chance.
They're boys.
Dude, zero chance.
Remember Matt Patricia beat
Deshaun Watson.
Belichick?
Deshaun Watson is going to ask if he can sneak inside of Cam Newton's top hat and travel back to New England with them.
Remember when Patricia won his first NFL game against Belichick? Sunday Night Football, your game.
What a fond memory that was for Patricia.
Changed the culture. They had a long way to go. They had a long way to go from 9-7 to 4-5 3 years later. How does it?
DeAndre Swift's playing well.
Can we talk for a second? I tweeted this out the other day. I'm at the same time dumbfounded at the fact that the Lions have lost 5 games and that they've won 4 games. Like Detroit should be what? If they beat Chicago and they beat who's the other team?
How long ago does that game feel?
Detroit could be like 6-3 right now. They could be one of these 6-3 teams that we're debating. And at the same time, and I watch them play, I don't know how they've won 4 games. I don't get it.
They're the Detroit Lions. There's just no other way to put it. And yet we loved them so much this offseason.
Well, they will get over 6.5 wins. I think.
Will. Thank God. Miami, Denver.
What do you have it at?
I had Denver getting 1.5, and it's got to be more now.
I said Miami -2.5.
What is it now? You probably are
Miami
right
-2.5. The look ahead was 1. This is trending out to 3 too. We're not betting the Denver Broncos again this week. This is brutal.
I'm never betting on Drew Lock.
Drew Lock, they had the game. They were going to win the first half, and then Noah Fant. You saw the hold by Noah Fant perfectly, and the next play, he just tries to fit it in. How do you throw an intercept? How do you throw multiple interceptions in the same game to Jeff Heath? Is this a joke?
And we know the Raiders are not exactly the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
I could see the Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores really
just pounding them.
Putting Drew Lock down for the count. Apparently he was a little banged up. But
yeah. Well, should we lay the points with the Dolphins right now?
Can I just say, on the PFF pregame show today, I made a statement that I was a little worried about, which was that I believe that Tua was going to outduel Justin Herbert and put some of this, hey, Herbert was the guy they should have taken bullshit to rest.
I'm giving
Tua's good.
I'm giving a seminar Friday at a conference, and it was about college to pro stuff, and I put Herbert as the example of how to make a projection, right? And I feel like I'm a little happier now that Herbert had kind of a bad game.
We need to get – so Justin Herbert is a very rich young man living in Los Angeles. Can you – what the fuck is going on?
As somebody who struggled with acne as a kid.
What is happening?
You're over it by that age, aren't you? I mean, I was, and I had bad
Maybe
skin.
he has a disease. But he didn't have this in college.
Stress is what causes breakouts, though. And we're in a pandemic. Like, he's a quarterback for an NFL team.
It's worse, though.
He did, though. Look, I'll give Justin Herbert some shit, but I'll tell you what. Came through the back door and got us the 2 covers.
That's why you bet.
That's why
you bet on Sunday night / Monday morning.
Because if you would have bet the teaser on close, you would have lost it, and you bet it with us on.
You would have bet it 7.5, and we got it 8.5.
Yeah,
beautiful.
But he only averaged 6 yards per pass attempt today. Not great.
Yeah, it wasn't as fine as
Herbert. Tua only had 169 yards, but they were kind of in control of the game the whole time, which helped.
He made some nice throws. He had some throws where you were like, man, that was impressive. Yes. Should
we lay the Dolphins here?
I kind of want to.
Okay.
I want to.
So right now, we like Kansas City minus 1.5.
Fade Drew Lock.
We like Kansas City minus 7. We like Cincinnati possibly +1 and Miami minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us now to Dallas at Minnesota.
No.
This game is at 4:25, and I just wrote in my notes.
Why?
LOL.
Line's not available because the Vikings haven't played. Is that right?
Maybe that, and no one knows what Dallas is going to do at quarterback. Maybe? I mean, I guess it's Garrett Gilbert, right?
No, it's going to be Dalton, right?
Oh, Dalton's. God, they suck. I think this will be Minnesota minus 7.
I said 7.5. By the way, the look ahead was 9.5.
Really?
Yeah. People love Minnesota. People think Minnesota's like the best 3 and 5 team of all time.
Yeah, before the game, it was 7. Before Sunday night, it was 7.5.
So people have been betting Dallas a little bit. Do you think that there's any angle that Dallas now has something to play for with how putrid Philly is? And if you look at Philly's schedule, like I tweeted this out.
But they're not worried about Philly. It's the Giants they have to worry about.
They legitimately have, like, the one thing that Dallas has is a tiebreaker over the Giants, weirdly. But, like,
Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the NFC East, and it's not particularly close.
Have you seen the Philly schedule? At Cleveland, at home to Seattle, at Packers, home to Saints and Jameis, at Cardinals. I mean, you're 3, whatever they are now, and 3-10-1 by then.
I mean, the crazy thing about it, this is another way of thinking about how bad the NFC East is. Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in that division. He wouldn't be one of the 3 best quarterbacks in any other division.
I mean, he maybe is better than Foles.
He's better than Foles.
Yeah.
You're better than Foles.
Well, I have a better arm.
Dude. Another guy I will not be betting on ever again. Okay. Philly, Cleveland, in Cleveland. What a disaster this game is.
This has moved a lot since even earlier today.
I had Cleveland as a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, I had them as 3.5.
It is 3 juiced towards Cleveland. So this is going to get out to 3.5, it looks like.
And there's no way you can entice me to pick
either side, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
I mean,
right.
That's the tricky thing. What do you think? Gun to your head, Baker Mayfield gets an extension? Yes or no?
Yes. Here's why. Sashi Brown, the last person who basically tore it down and said, quarterback, we can wait on quarterback for a couple of years. Like, they didn't give him enough time, Like, so
he died for our sins.
And I think Andrew Berry, well, very smart. Kwesi, also very smart, and the Stefanski, very smart. I think that they will at least bridge it, right? Like, could he get a Jimmy G deal, right? Where Jimmy G's deal is expensive, sure, but also relatively easy to get out of after a year or two.
If not, then they're messing up.
Because again, like,
they go 11-5, he's a winner. He's still eating salad.
But the other issue is like, if you take on another veteran, so you like sign like
Jameis,
Jimmy, Kirk Cousins, right? Like Kirk Cousins could go back and play for Stefanski. Like those guys are super expensive anyway.
Yeah.
Nick Foles, Case Keenum, like those guys. It's like,
yeah. I think honestly, you're just hoping that he figures it out.
Yeah.
All right. Jets Chargers.
No.
In Los Angeles. I had the Chargers as a 7-point favorite.
I said the Chargers would be 10-point favorites.
Whoa. No faith in the Flacco.
Chargers are 9.5 right now.
Wow.
Juiced a little bit towards Jets. The Sharps like the Jets. Have like the Jets all year.
You can't, if you are a Sharp, you are literally walking around with Jets tickets in your pocket.
That's you just bet on bad teams every week.
That's what you
pray
do.
that they'll win.
I am a Sharp, and I have a lot of money on the Jets this week. So technically, I should really like the Chargers here. I kind of do. I don't know. The Jets
love the Chargers here, dude.
The Jets suck.
The Jets are garbage. The Jets also, the problem is Jets are coming off a bye. There's some like Adam. Like,
oh, wait. No. I should like the Jets. I'm sorry. Sharp.
I like the Chargers. Here's why. I mean,
at 9.5?
Dude, this is quintessential. The Chargers are 2-7. They're garbage. Their coach, though, just got extended. Like, they're not in like a tanking situation. They have good players. Like, you think Keenan Allen's going to let them lose to the Jets? And Herbert is like a big strike guy. We're talking about big plays here. And other than one game, exactly one game, the Jets have been incapable of scoring with other teams. Like, so if the Chargers get out ahead of 14-0 in this game, it's over. The spread.
I don't have an argument there.
Like, they haven't.
Jets are a very bad football team.
Especially, again, Darnold might be healthy by then. Like,
that would be bad for the Jets.
Not to say that you should be worried about Flacco or whatever. Like,
Detroit, Joey Bosa can come back, should be back.
Yeah.
Detroit, Carolina. In Carolina, I have the Carolina Panthers favored by 3.
Same.
And it is. Where is this? Why is this not?
Teddy's hurt. That's why.
Oh. Before the game, was there one? Yeah, no line. What is it? A knee?
Yeah, it's not serious, so you should be able to play. But
who is their back? Joe Brady.
Phillip Walker.
Oh.
XFL.
Intrigued. He's good. He could be bad.
You have my attention.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on then. Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. In Jacksonville. I have the Jags as 10.5 point dogs.
I said 10.
And it is 10.5.
I see 10 on Bet Online, but whatever. It's the same thing. You like Jacksonville in this one?
No, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't like Pittsburgh, though.
Yeah, Pittsburgh doesn't seem like a bet-on team for me.
No, I still – here's the thing with Pittsburgh. They are a team very capable of making bad teams look really bad. And they're also a team that is fully capable of losing to anybody. That's just the way they're built, you know? It's –
Yep.
And Mike Tomlin's a very, very good coach, and they have some really good receivers, and TJ Watt's amazing. But still, Ben Roethlisberger is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, and they rely, similarly to how we talked about some other teams, on a lot of pieces kind of coming together and being, all being good. So I think that does it.
Yeah, so, okay, what are we going to go with?
No teasers this week.
Well, there's not that
distraught.
many good teasers.
I'm distraught.
What do you,
really are
okay,
none.
well, so are we, let's think about possible totals, though. Okay. I think, I don't think there's any I actually like.
Yeah,
Arizona, Seattle's 57. That's a share high.
It's a lot.
Kansas City, Las Vegas is 55. That's high. Green Bay, Indianapolis 49. I could see that going under. Jets, Chargers 47. I could see that going under. Okay, so let's think about sides then. So we have Kansas City minus the 7, Cincinnati plus the 1. And if we're fast, Dolphins minus 2.5.
I like those.
All right.
You can check out our write-up on pff.com. And, yeah, that's it. That's a wrap.
4-1 this week. Not bad.
We just are really good at picking.
We're just bricking our lock of the week.
We're just
every week.
really good at picking the one. And I don't honestly even remember.
Well, we didn't talk about it much. We had the interview with Kevin and Bruce. I think we're having another guest this week.
And we have always done that pick as sort of like a tongue-in-cheek thing.
Yeah.
Because, having the lock of the week is always ridiculous. But we should
where are we at right now? So I did this tabulation. We are 23-17 on the year if you count locks, which is pretty good. We are getting an average of half a point of line movement per pick, which is pretty damn good.
I'm getting half a line of movement per pick. So
we'll hopefully continue that trend this week.
Welcome to the Trend Zone. All right, that was it. Thanks, guys. Be well. Peace out.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.